This story starts with a book. Fishing, the Coastal's Edition, published in 1987 by Michael W. Marshall. The book is about the traditional fishermen of the UK, and Michael Marshall said it was inspired by my grandfather, Horace Holden. I returned to Bognor Regis to jog some childhood memories. It's a very windy day in Bognor Regis, very cold too. This is the hut behind me where my grandfather spent 40 years fishing. He fed 6 children from this little meagre living. In Michael Marshall's book, he talks about the East and the West End fishermen. My grandfather's a West End fisherman. He was quite a quiet, unassuming man and used to fish with his son just out on the sea in front of this hut. During the Second World War, my grandfather served on a Royal Navy minesweeper.
We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be.
Cost to my grandfather was the loss of his hearing, but he did gain 2 Atlantic stars during the campaign. He told us very little about the war. My grandfather passed his skills on to my brother Morley Bickle, who also got a mention in the book. Morley's methods were a bit more modern than my grandfather's, and his boat became famous on photographs and on postcards. My grandfather's boat was of clinker construction, which was basically overlapping boards. My brother fiberglassed the boat to preserve it. The boat was winched up the beach on these old scaffold boards that gave many a splinter. Wheels on a dolly underneath the boat, now hauled on old travelator belts. In the winter months, my grandfather would construct lobster pots from old willows, or withies as he used to call them. Originally the withies were collected locally, but then had to be sourced from Devon in the end. The lobster pot making made my grandfather famous amongst artists. Today the pots are made in factories and sold to fishermen. A large painting hangs in my mother's living room showing my grandfather carving cuttlefish bones. He sold them and miniature lobster pots to tourists from all around the world. He featured on postcards, and him and Raymond rescued canoeists and ended up in the papers. Also in the papers again, clearing away the flotsam and jetsam from the pier storm damage in 1964. In 1865, the pier was 1,000 foot long, but it was reduced to 300 foot long by storms in 1964 and 1965. Along with the pier, the town is sadly showing its age. The Royal Norfolk Hotel is the last remaining embers of royalty visiting Bognor Regis. And Arran District Council seems to have forgotten Bognor Regis too. And as I leave Bognor Regis, I realise that my generation is the last to have the fading memory.